Hey everyone, it's Jason from GameRave.com, and this is Present Tense. So, E3 is behind us, and truth be told, there wasn't really a lot of surprises for me, at least not in the normal sense. Like, we really pretty much knew almost everything being announced at E3 for months back and so forth. Let's just get down to the nitty-gritty. Fallout 4's last 3 DLC, oh my god, I cannot wait. Oddly enough, among the 3 of them, next week's Rube Goldberg machine stuff is what I'm most looking forward to. Like, your own vault's fine, the nuclear world is awesome, but after the Game Store video and the Pac-Man video, I've been trying to do a Donkey Kong one, and I couldn't figure out enough tricks and sleight of hands and blah 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 to get the Donkey Kong effect, and the Rube Goldberg machine DLC is pretty much going to take care of that, and I cannot wait to jump into it. If you haven't seen it, check it out, it's pretty cool. On the depressing side, Microsoft's presentation really didn't wow me. Like I mentioned on social media, aside from being depressed that ReCore looks more like a knack than an open world type, find the orbs for the creatures type of game, there really wasn't, there was no reason for me to buy an Xbox One yet. We're 3 years into the system's life cycle, and I can't find any reason. Like, I really fell off the boat with Halo, and I've never really been into Gears of War that much. It depresses me. Like, it's literally coming down to the fact that unless there's some sort of weird Mass Effect exclusive console or something like that, I have no reason to buy an Xbox One. That hasn't happened in years as far as not getting a system for a generation. Sony's presentation now. I have to have Horizon. Horizon looks absolutely stunning. It's Lara Croft versus the Dinobots. What more do you need? B, I like that Horizon's lead female actually looks like she is properly armored and dressed and has everything she needs. I think the era, or at least most of the era of ridiculously, half naked but fully armored women is over in gaming, and that's a positive sign. That's a great thing. Call of fucking Duty. Full disclosure, I'm not a big Call of Duty fan. I've more or less played Modern Warfare's storyline 1, 2, and 3 based on what had gone on with 2's whole airport situation. When we started watching the presentation, a few of my friends kept thinking it was Eve Valkyrie. And when they announced it was Call of Duty, done. I'm not going to spend $60 on it, and I'm probably not going to spend $30 on it, but when that baby hits $15 and $20 mark, I will buy Call of Duty Infinite quite proudly and check that game out. You can speak all you want about Black Ops and how it's, too futuristic and so forth. If it can get a guy who hates Call of Duty bros with a passion and really doesn't care for first-person shooters that aren't role-playing games, Infinity Ward did their job. They nailed it, and that's a huge sign. That's a very positive, good sign. Kind of interesting that Sony really didn't do anything with the VR. Speaking of them with VR, it's interesting that Microsoft, while they didn't show Scorpio, they flat out admitted to the specs. That's interesting, because it's interesting from a marketing and strategy standpoint, because from a production angle, hardware takes a long time to make. It's not like just pressing a CD disc and shipping it. By them talking about the specs of the Scorpio at this point in time, they have essentially forced Sony to either figure out how to really make their VR headset gear kick ass on the PlayStation 4, which might be the reason for the 4.5, or they're going to have to go back and review some specs. And that's interesting, because now there's an actual cat and mouse game going on as far as how to get new fans, how to get developers on board, and so forth. That's what we've been missing for the last 2 or 3 years. Just straight up, just balls to the wall competition, and that's going to be amazing. Nintendo, I watched a 30-second clip of Zelda footage. Until I see Metroid Prime on the NX, or even Advanced Warfare on the NX, I'm pretty much done with Nintendo. And now that I've said this, they're going to do something crazy, and I'll be, whatever. But going back to Sony for a second, oh my effing god, Crash Bandicoot remasters. Now, there have been a few people that were kind of like, okay, whatever, big deal, who cares? I care. And I care for one important reason. No one, at least when it came to Sony publishers, have gone this far back for a remaster. It's always been PlayStation 3 games, maybe a random PS2 game like Final Fantasy X, etc., or like Kingdom Hearts. But no one's gone this far back for an actual remaster. Not a re-release on PSN, but a true high-def remaster. And that alone, if it does really well, should open up the floodgates. And that lifelong dream of getting Jumping Flash back into play just became, that much closer to reality. That's amazing. That's very incredible. Speaking of PlayStation 1, I know this is supposed to be for, present day gaming, but it's casual talk. I haven't really talked about much of it, but if you follow me on message boards, you know what I've been trying to get into. I may finally be down to cracking a mystery that has been plaguing me, like Moby Dick and the White Whale. And to give you an example of just how obsessed I have become with it, yeah, and that's not including the greatest hits over on the table over there. So hopefully the incoming one will be the final nail in the coffin to either put it to bed as for what the research is, or to finally open up and be able to show it to public, etc., etc., etc. But yeah, other than that, yeah, E3 is coming on, and I really, maybe it's because I don't work at GameStop anymore, and it's not part of my like I watched E3 for the first time in between GameStop / EB Games, Game Shark, and working at the mom and pop game store for a couple of years. This is the first time I watched E3 as a non-retail / industry side employee of the gaming industry. I got to watch games as if I were a consumer, because I am. And that's really fucking weird when you've done it for 20 years. There was a moment when, I can't even remember what it was. My first thought was, God, it's going to suck to just explain that to customers. And I stopped and went, oh yeah, I don't have to anymore. And just the warmth and the smiles that came over me at that point, like it's crazy. Speaking of the new job, this was my official first whole week there, 8 to 4:30 every day, yada yada. Still getting the shake, still a little nervous, still rough, but it's going good. And I think in about a couple weeks I'll finally be settled into a groove, and I can finally like relax. And the last few days have just been mentally draining because I've never been able to use my graphic design skills on an actual like real job basis. And I posted to my personal Facebook, but not Game Rave. I basically said that like I have never known what creative fatigue means, and now I bleeping get it. But it's so much fun, guys, and I'm hoping that the things I learn from a production standpoint at the job will help roll over into Game Rave and so forth, and especially with the book. But yeah. That's all it is for this week. Otherwise, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. It's actually this Sunday. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Go relax. It's beautiful weather outside. If nothing else, at least air conditioned and play games on the inside. We'll see you guys next week with probably a pause mode, or I could jump into Game Rave TV based on the Mortal Kombat stuff. Take care, you guys. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time. family. No, there's not going to be any game rave or pause mode this week. There's just no time. I figured I would use the present tense to take care of all that. And I've already hit the 12-minute mark, which will be whittled down to about 10 once I get rid of all the ums. So we'll call it there, guys. Like I said, it's just been a crazy week for me. Definitely life changes are in effect. God knows where we go from here. All right, guys, have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. I'll probably skip pause mode and go back into Game Rave TV so we can get another top 5 done or maybe something like that. We'll see you guys later. Have a great one.